Tesla reporting second quarter earnings on Tuesday after the closing bell, and investors will be looking for any new information about Tesla's much anticipated robotaxi event. But how many people are even using full self-driving in Teslas now? For more, we're bringing in George Gianarikas, Managing Director at Canaccord Genuity. George, it's good to see you. Obviously there has been a lot of focus already on Tesla's margins, on the fact that sales have not been fantastic, not just of Teslas, but of EVs more generally. So let's start there and what you expect to hear from the company.
Hi, thanks for having me. Well, we already gotten a glimpse as to what Tesla's deliveries were for the second quarter. The incremental news that we'll get from the call will be, as you alluded to, the margin trajectory of the firm, how exactly what appears to be a gangbusters quarter in their energy storage business translated into profits. And really importantly for us is the FSD take rate. Yeah, so if you remember during the quarter, they lowered the price of FSD to about $8,000 if you're paying a license, $99 a month if you want to buy the recurring revenue portion, the subscription, and they also give people a month free. Well, how is that translated into consumer appetite for the product? That's really, really important because for us, before robotaxi even happens, we have to figure out what the consumer appetite is for full self-driving offering that they have available to them today, particularly when that'll help dictate the earnings trajectory of the firm for the next few years before robotaxi kicks in.
And George, do they disclose the take rate for FSD, or what do you watch to sort of extrapolate that number?
We're just going to ask. I mean, they don't disclose it during the call. They have sort of alluded to the backwards math in a couple of quarters ago. So in the U.S., it appears to be that the take rate has historically been probably in the high teens. So every time someone buys a Tesla vehicle, the high teens percentage actually adopt for the full self-driving. It's not a metric that they traditionally give out. So hopefully if we get our question, we'll ask the management team on the call. But like I said, that's really important, not to mention they have alluded to the fact that they plan on launching a few new vehicles before the $25,000 vehicle comes out. So people have called it the Model 2.5, so to speak. And so we think that could really help volumes like this year, early next year. So we'll see what they have to say about that. The last we heard about it, I think it was at the shareholder meeting, Elon Musk said he's really excited about them.
I'm just curious, George, as you think about, you mentioned the robotaxi event. One, George, what you think you might see at that event, and two, George, how long before you might see, real meaningful financial impact there?
It's a really good question. So in our model, we haven't built in a robotaxi line yet because we're still waiting to see when it's coming out, what the economics look like, et cetera. Suffice to say that the timing is incredibly unclear. Look, we have robotaxis today. They just operate in limited operational domains. I mean, they're offered by Waymo in cities like San Francisco and Phoenix, and I believe in Austin. But the problem with that particular service is that it's really, really expensive to build their vehicle, right? The Tesla vehicles have an advantage because, according to Elon Musk, they only have cameras and the computer on them. But the hidden cost, and we recently put a note out about this, is that the difference in approaches is that Elon Musk is building a massive data center infrastructure to support that, right? So, and he's disclosed that it's cost cumulatively well over $10 billion to build that. So we put out a note that really tries to break down what the cost per vehicle is actually, if you include all the back-end spending they have to put together to enable that vehicle. There's a really hot debate right now in autonomous vehicle circles. What's the right approach? Do you have this neural network approach where you use only cameras and you build this data infrastructure that literally dictates the terms of how that vehicle will drive? Or do you put more sensors on the vehicle? You have some AI, but you also have some hard-coded software rules that will sometimes override what the AI tells the vehicle to do. It's a really big debate. Some people think Tesla will win. Other people think that Tesla is a little bit too aggressive in how quickly they're deploying AI.
George, this is all really meaty stuff having to do with the nuts and bolts of the company. But as usual, there's a lot of noise when it comes to Tesla. And I got to ask you about that noise. We had some commentary from former President Donald Trump. He talked about EVs last night in his commentary at the RNC. And I want to play that for you and get your reaction.
And if you were going to do this all over our country, this crazy electric mandate, if you're going to do this all, and by the way, I'm all for electric. They have their application. But if somebody wants to buy a gas-powered car, gasoline-powered car, or a hybrid, they're going to be able to do it. And we're going to make that change on day one.
I myself have 2 hybrids at home. George, if we do see a Trump win in the White House, I'm not sure which mandate he's referring to there, but what do you think that's going to mean for Tesla and the broader EV market?
So, look, we've had EV incentives that have come into place after the Inflation Reduction Act was signed into law. And those incentives, assuming that the people who buy the vehicle meet the income requirements and that the vehicle itself is within a certain price range, you can get $7,500 off from a federal tax perspective. The interesting thing is, though, if you look as to when those incentives were put in place and you look at what Tesla's vehicle sales have done, I'm confident they've helped. Right? I mean, $7,500 off is a lot of money. But Tesla's vehicle sales really haven't grown significantly since the beginning of 2023. It's been part of the issue with the stock. So that really means to us that, yes, it'll definitely have an impact if those incentives somehow are taken away day one. But there's so many other things at play. I mean, if you recall, late in 2022, Elon Musk started to really talk about the impact that interest rate increases were having on vehicle sales. So let's just say in an environment where those EV incentives come off, but rates go down, that may be a net positive for the vehicle sales. So nothing operates in a vacuum. Clearly, that $7,500 going away wouldn't be a good thing, but there's so many other factors here at play that we'll see how it all works out.
George, we're always lucky to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.